We're here in the woods. We're looking for bike parts. We kind of know which one we're after, and it's this one.
We're gonna give a part to take it apart.
Yeah, we're after this hub. It's a yellow band.
Yellow band.
Bendix rear.
Two-speed.
Kickback.
This thing is giving good service to our friends. We can't disrupt it and take the whole bike. We want just that wheel. This is a beauty. What do you reckon? We're in the 60s here?
I'm guessing 60s on this one.
Could be late 50s with that Bendix. I could be late 50s. Oh. A little rusty, a little oxidation on that.
Maybe a little bit more than a little bit, maybe.
You free there?
I think we're free, yep.
You
Just
good?
keep pivoting the bike out a little bit more.
Oi, oi, oi. Right. Okay. There we are. There we are. Oh, nice.
All right, so we got what we came for. We came for this wheel. Well, we really only care about the hub.
Yep.
We're gonna cut the hub out of this wheel. We're gonna refurbish the hub, and then we're gonna give it to somebody else for them to lace into a wheel of their own.
The best pit bike in the world's coming up for this dog. Ho!
We've got our wheel back here at Park Tool headquarters. I'm gonna take the tire off first, and then we're gonna throw it in the TS 4.3, and we're gonna loosen all these spokes, get them off, get the spokes and the rim separated from the hub so we can service the hub. Before this wheel lived in a tree, it was living in a chicken coop though. So I'm gonna do all this with gloves on. I think I just saw something pretty fun. Check this thing out, this tube. Look at what we found. The patch on the tube in here. It would have been vulcanized. So this patch is probably 30 plus years old. Kind of fun. So some of you might be wondering why we're doing this for this hub. Well, these hubs are kind of cool. It's a 2-speed kickback, and this one's an underdrive. So it has a 1-to-1 drive, and it also has an underdrive. So basically, when you're pedaling, the cog is actually moving faster than the wheel is. And the reason that I'm getting this out of here is because my coworker Andy, he is building a pretty cool bike to be used at Sea Otter for getting around, going and picking up stands, going to the bathroom, talking to other industry contacts. And so he wanted a yellow band hub, and turns out, if you look them up on eBay, people are not giving these things away. So, of course, Andy, he knows the right people, and some of the people that he knows had this hub in a tree waiting for this exact situation to happen. Slash, it was there for decoration. Can't you just having a boring driveway. So that is where this hub is going to live the rest of its life, in a pretty cool old Schwinn. Now that we have our hub free of the wheel, we are gonna start disassembling this. We're gonna disassemble it, do a deep clean on it, then start reassembling with fresh grease, fresh oil, clean threads, clean carriers, clean brake pads. It's gonna be refreshed so that we, the Park Tool crew, can trust it at Sea Otter Classic. All right, so No rim, no spokes. We have it in our vise. We have it in our Power Tool AV1 in the 10mm spot there. Fixtured. I've taken a few of these apart and I've put them back together, and I enjoy doing so. But I need a reference. So my reference right here is Sutherland's, which would have been the Bike Mechanics Guide pre-internet. So the page that we're interested in first is this one. It's going to be the Bendix blue and yellow band hub disassembly and assembly. And the difference between the blue and the yellow is an underdrive hub. So basically you have 1-to-1 where the hub is turning the exact same speed as the sprocket. And then you have the kickback and you change your speed, and then it goes into underdrive, which means that the sprocket is actually going to be moving faster than the hub itself. So here we go. And we don't have the special wrench, but we do have a wrench that will work. This is the SPA 1, and we have a 22mm here. So what we're gonna do, break that free. Now we're going to take that locking nut out of there. And as we take this apart, we're gonna be putting different parts into freezer bags to keep them organized, kind of in sections. And then when we throw all this into the ultrasonic cleaner, we can keep everything organized. It's interesting that on this manual, it suggests that if you don't have the specific tool, that you take an old spark plug and knock the electrode off of it and cut that electrode down to be the correct size, which is kind of fun. I think there's other methods that could work as well. But these, this was locked together, but it wasn't extremely difficult to get unlocked. So don't expect too much fight from this lock nut. Especially because ours here is pretty corroded and gross. Came out of a tree, came out of, before that, a chicken coop. We're dealing with one that was pretty well abused. So yours should probably be even easier to take apart than this one. All right, I think what I'm doing here is, I thought I was in underdrive, but we need to be sure that we are in underdrive. We can't get it apart if it's in the 1-to-1 gearing. So that should be underdrive. So we should be able to unthread this. Things are not feeling correct. Kind of feeling our way through here. You don't want to push too hard. Here we go. If we turn the sprocket clockwise here, we can get this out. And this part is what's called the adjusting cone. It is both the adjusting cone and the sun gear of the planetary. Taking this piece off here. So this is our cone that's going to ride on the bearing. This is the innermost part of the planetary, and we call that the sun gear. You can see on this, we have some prehistoric grease here from the 70s that is no longer very good. I'm surprised that this hub was moving as well as it was, that I could shift gears with it in my hand. But we're gonna throw this into our bag. We're actually gonna throw a couple more things in there. This bearing race. We'll clean it up and see if these bearings are any good. Now, there we go. Oh, now we're cooking. Here, we have these gears here. So this is the outer driver, the high-speed driver is what this whole piece is called. In there are bearings. I'm gonna just plug this hole in the bottom because they're gonna fall into there. We're not gonna take those out right now, but man, look at all this grease caked into this and all the rust. So we're gonna take this whole piece, take that, put that in our bag. Also at this time, in the same bag, I'm going to take out this inner bearing. All right, now we are done taking apart the entire drive side. So what we're gonna be doing is pulling this hub shell off of here, and that's gonna be getting us into the braking side of this hub. And you can actually see this part in here, which we're calling the clutch expander assembly. And on the other side of the expander assembly is brake pads. There's 4 brake pads in here. And as we pull this hub shell off, we're gonna get the brake pads coming out the bottom. So we're gonna get a different bag for these parts. We're on the other side of the hub now. These are what they call brake pads. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Now we have the expander assembly, which is right here. This piece all needs to move. Notice these clocking parts. We're gonna throw that entire assembly into our bag here with all of our braking things. And oh boy, look at this old grease. It's like Play-Doh now. Fun. Oh, here we are. Gonna make a little snowman out of it. A little mountain. All right, cool. Now we have what's left is the axle and the brake arm assembly. And we're gonna wanna take this apart because there is a bearing inside, and we wanna make sure that that bearing is super clean. We wanna get rid of all this corrosion and make sure that we're starting fresh again. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna measure the exposed length of this axle so that we're sure that we get it back to the correct spot. So I'm gonna grab a digital caliper. We are gonna measure the exposed length, which is 22.78 millimeter. All right, now that we've scribbled, we can take this apart. I'm gonna pop this in here. Boop. Take our 22 mil, These are actually 7/8. It's a standard size, but they're, generous tolerances, which is, good right now for us, because we can actually use a 22. This one was loose already, so we got that off of there nice and easy. Unthread our lock nut. If yours is a little bit more difficult than this, you're gonna need a wrench on there, and you're gonna hold on to the brake arm to get this off. Grab our fourth and final bag here, pop that in there. This should pop off of here. Sometimes old stuff doesn't work like it should, which is kind of why we're rebuilding this thing. Making sure that it's gonna run for a lot more years. There we go. Brake arm, clean that up. We'll debris cover, and then we have our bearing in here, which this we should be able to squeeze kind of over the top. You can't pull it off, so you have to start on one side, work it up, push it over to the other side to work it out like this. And then you have your bearings free and clear. Now we have this leftover part, and we are going to hopefully just unthread it. Sometimes you lube things just to get them apart. Typically you're going to use like a penetrating oil. In this case, I'm just trying to get some oil on these things at all. And I'm not even gonna try and find the right wrench size. I'm just gonna use the built-in wrench here to get this thing out of there. After looking at it, I think I'm gonna leave this on. And we'll just pop this whole axle and that part in there. Get it cleaned up as best we can. All right. We have this hub disassembled into all of its pieces. So now what we're gonna go and do is we're gonna put a little bit of cleaner in each one of these bags, and then we're gonna pop all the bags into our ultrasonic cleaner to make sure to get things as clean as we really can. We'll take things out of there, and then I'll meet you there. Magically, we have all of our parts back. So some of them still have some rust on there, some patina, but a lot of the clumpy, nasty Play-Doh clay that was in here is, well, all of that is gone. And things are much, much cleaner than what they were. Even after cleaning, there's some things that are not gonna come back. So this bearing set here, which I believe is for the brake assembly arm, this particular set, we're not gonna get these bearings clean. All these bearings are rusty, just like this one. Not shiny, not perfectly round. If we ran them for a while, they might get a little bit better, but not really. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop these out one by one, just like that, and we're gonna replace it with a brand new one. How do you know what size to get? Well, you gotta get yourself a Park Tool ruler, and then you're gonna put it through the size hole that it fits in. And if you try to put it through one of the other holes, it will not go through in this case. So we know that we have 1/4 inch bearings here. So that old one, put that one in the old pile. We're gonna pop that one, fresh one in, and we're gonna go all the way around this bearing cage, take out the old ones, pop in the new ones. And once we're all done doing that, then we will kind of push fresh grease into this and make sure that we've got a lot of fresh grease on tap. And we are using HPG, high performance grease. The reason in this scenario that we are using the HPG is we are dealing with both a transmission inside of this hub, and we are dealing with a brake inside of this hub. So there is going to be friction in this system, and the friction is going to lead to heat. And HPG is extremely good in high temperature situations. So it both rolls extremely easily, but it can also put up with a lot of heat. All right, so we just got done popping fresh bearings into 2 of our races. I also counted out new bearings for the 11 that were in the assembly. They were just free floating in there. And those actually go on those are for the adjusting cone sun gear, I believe. So what we're gonna be starting with is reassembling some of our assemblies first. We did not disassemble our clutch assembly. We didn't take any of the pieces off of our drive system here. We left our little sun gears in. So we're gonna be starting to reassemble some of the assemblies. We're gonna start with the brake assembly. So for this one, what we're gonna start with is popping the bearing onto there. And kind of gotta work one side down onto it and kind of push those balls out and work it on there like so. Just like that. Then we're going to take our cover, pop that on, our arm, and then our lock nut. Once we get this lock nut on, we are going to use the number that we got before. I believe it was 22.78 millimeters. We don't need to be exact dead on that number here, but let's see what we got. Dane, what do we got there?
23.5.
23.5, that's pretty good. Any difference?
23.38.
Bummer. Well, let's go a little bit further here. Bam.
22.9.
That's good. We're winning on that one. So we are gonna clamp this in here for a sec. All right, so I'm gonna hold this arm and keep it from spinning. And I'm gonna push this cone wrench on. Lock it in place. Probably about 20 Newton meters of tightening there. Now, I'm gonna pop that just like so. Just gonna loosely put this in here as storage. Now we have the hub shell. And in this hub shell, what we're gonna do right off the gate is we're gonna put some grease in there. Put a little grease where we're gonna end up, where our clutch assembly is gonna go, where our bearing is gonna go. Just getting a coating on everything in there. Light coating. And what we're gonna install here is our clutch pack. Very light in our clutch pack for the grease here. And actually what we're gonna do, take some light oil, in this case CL1, put it into this assembly here. Little exercise there. Clean up some of the excess that we have on the outside. All right, cool. So in this one, the small end of the clutch goes in first, and this is the small end. Pop that in there. Now we have our brake shoes that are going to be going in right there. So the brake shoes, I believe they're symmetric. Yep, they are. So what we're going to do on these, put some grease on there. This is going to do a couple things. It's going to actually kind of stick them in there so they seat. It's going to allow them to move properly over time. And you can see in here, there's two tabs. So you have two pads that go over here, and there's going to be two pads that go over here. So you got those in there. Now we are going to put our axle assembly in, and we're going to try and match those tabs up. See, there's two tabs on this assembly as well. Tab here, tab over here. And we're going to pop these in like so. Perfect. Everything is feeling great. Flip that over, pop it into our axle vise. Now we are ready to start on our drive side. What I'm going to do first, a little grease. In our bearing race here. First thing is first, we're going to pop in larger bearing. It has fresh bearings. That's one of the assemblies, one of the cages that we popped fresh new bearings into, 1/4 inch. All right, now we're going to be taking our driver, and we're going to be, first things first, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this thread, just a tiny bit. little bit more grease on this race here for the bearing. And then put a little oil in here. So this is our 2-speed actuator. You can see it kind of clicks every little bit. And that is one of the key pieces in a 2-speed kickback hub. So I'm just going to make sure that moves freely. And then we're going to make sure that we have oil and grease on these threads. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. I see a little spot where we're dry here. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. All right, so now this piece is going in. See, it's working already, the 2-speed. See, it doesn't drive anything now. This is underdrive. Kick it back. This is our 1-to-1. Kind of fun. All right, next things next. We have our 11 bearings that are gonna go in here where normally the small bearing retainer would go. But we don't have a retainer on this one. Somebody at some point put just bearings in here. Which is fine. You should add some bearings if you ever do that. All right, and you're gonna notice there's a little bit of a space here. You might be able to fit one more in there, but we're not going to. This is the correct amount. You need that additional space in there when you're running just regular bearings. We are going to do the light lubricant thing on this outer gear. Now, here we have part of our drive unit. We're gonna do all light lube on this inner piece here. A little light lubricant on our little gears. Super free. On this side, we're gonna have bearing cage there. You know what's kind of fun is this bearing, a couple of the other ones must have been replaced over the years, but this particular bearing is still, it still says Bendix right on it. And this is a Bendix USA hub. Now we have one of the last pieces. Just put a little light lube on that gear here. Grease on our race. Yep, so right now, looking at our Sutherlands here, it says continue turning the sun gear, which is what we're turning on right now, clockwise, seeing that the high-speed outer drive rotates counterclockwise, and the low speed is turning clockwise. Install the lock nut and adjust the bearing so that there's just a trace of side play at the wheel rim, which we right now will not be able to see. We're just gonna put a dab of grease here on the axle, and that'll bring it in there, into the hub shell, help lubricate those threads. So we'll be able to disassemble this in the future. We're doing pretty good here. All right. Doesn't feel right. So that's the braking function. We're gonna go back. While this is rotating forward, you pedal backwards and that slows us down. We're going forwards, and now it's making a noise. We're gonna stop. We're gonna disassemble it. All right, so we're back. And we were experiencing a little bit of a noise with our hub. It was like a when you turned it, especially in the 1-to-1. If you were in the underdrive like this, it wasn't making as much noise. A hint on what was going on, yes. So I took this thing apart, verified the order of assembly, the order of operation, how things had gone back together, took it apart again, it went through a lot of different things. Ended up being a little tiny spring, and it was that it had been corroded over time. And then possibly the previous owner, maybe didn't take a really great care of it, and it had maybe been run dry for a while and gotten galled. And that was in this assembly here, reference number 14. And so we had to take that back to the grinder. We had to clean it all up with a wire wheel. We got that all back and in action, and now it's quiet, everything's working smoothly, feels great. I think there's two big takeaways here. One is it's really important for you to know how a component works so that you can identify something that's not working properly. And so in this case, it was the noise and kind of the feeling. I know in internally geared hubs, there's going to be a little bit additional resistance in comparison to a non-internally geared hub. But it's not gonna be rough feeling and it's not gonna have a weird noise. So that's important. But also, it's extremely important to have a good resource that you can trust. And in this case, I had this Sutherland's manual. I could see the exact part schematic, how it's all supposed to go together. And then I had exact instructions on how to assemble that. Being a professional or an expert or a person that other people put their trust in to know something, it's extremely important to have good resources. Know where to go for help. So where are those places? Places like Sutherland, places like the Paderek Frame Building Manual, places like the Park Tool YouTube channel or the Park Tool website, where we have a breadth of knowledge on our own products, but also on bicycle repair. Also, other places that you can trust would be manufacturers' websites. So you can go to SRAM or Shimano, and their websites have a ton of knowledge for you out there, or other manufacturers. But knowing what information you can trust and finding it is extremely important. We're gonna give this hub to Andy, but on that note, get out there, get your hands dirty or your gloves dirty, and keep having fun with bikes. And we'll see you next time on the Park Tool YouTube channel. All right, I got your hub for you.
Oh, sweet, thank you. Looking forward to it. Any problems?
Nope, everything went perfect.
Great.
Awesome.
Right
See ya.
on. Yep.